Hello, I'm Martin Doblmeier, and I'm joined today by someone who I have admired for a long, long time. He's the founder and the president of Interfaith America, which I think is the premier interfaith organization in the United States. Eboo Patel. Eboo, thank you for joining us.
Martin, thank you for having me, and thank you for the amazing films that you have made about religion and the American and really the human experience.
Well, you're too kind. So I want to start by asking, many of the people in our viewing audience would know you as having created Interfaith Youth Corps 20 plus years ago now. 2 years ago, you made the decision that you're going to reimagine that organization. It was going to become Interfaith America. If I understand correctly, you still have 600 college campuses that you're working with. You're still training thousands of young people about how to get involved and engaged in interfaith work. Tell me the difference now that you see going forward with Interfaith America.
Well, thank you for that question. So, really since about 2012, our work, our interfaith work as an organization has been as much with faculty and college administrators and civic leaders and governments and private companies as it was with the young people. So the programs were kind of outracing the name of the organization for many years. And around about 2020, we decided it's time to kind of have a look at this and see what kind of alignment we can bring. And right around that time, there was a realization, I think it was probably some demographic data that came out, likely from the Public Religion Research Institute, which showed the religious diversity in the nation. And it kind of was clear we are no longer a Judeo-Christian country. There are now as many Muslims in America as there are ELCA Lutherans, twice as many Muslims as there are Episcopalians. The number of people who are secular humanists or agnostics or spiritual seekers has grown dramatically. The Judeo-Christian chapter in American history served us well, but we're in a new chapter, and we thought that chapter was best called Interfaith America, and we loved that chapter title so much we decided to name the organization after it. And so in a lot of ways, the goal of Interfaith America, the organization, is to help build Interfaith America, the nation.
No, it's a wonderful aspiration, and I'm curious too, Eboo. One of the things I think that's on everybody's mind right now is what's happening in Gaza. And you work on college campuses. I spend quite a bit of time on college campuses. I know the tension and the possibility for violence is pretty great there. Is there anything that Interfaith America can do and to sort of honor what's happening on both sides, and yet find a way to bring the people together and find and help to contribute to some kind of solution what's going on?
First of all, let me just say the situation in the Middle East is terrible. It rends my heart every day. There is absolute devastation in Gaza, and it hurts me deeply. And the attacks of October 7th were just gruesome and barbaric, right? And I think it's not hard to say there are terrible things that are happening on all sides of that. There are terrible things that have happened on all sides of that border, and what is happening in Gaza right now should focus our attention. And I speak, of course, in early March, and the situation may be different in 5 weeks, right? I speak in early March 2024. Having said that, we are strong believers at Interfaith America that relationships between people of diverse backgrounds in our nation cannot be patterned by conflicts elsewhere. That part of what we do here in the United States is we demonstrate that identity conflicts elsewhere in the world are contextual rather than inevitable. So however strongly one might feel in connection to a conflict in the Middle East or South Asia or Eastern Europe or in South America or wherever else there are conflicts in the world, and there are conflicts everywhere in the world, we cannot look at our neighbor who might happen to share an ethnicity or a religion or a nationality or a heritage as somebody in a conflict zone on the other side of the world. We cannot look at our neighbor as an enemy combatant, right? We can't do that. Otherwise, you don't have a diverse democracy. Otherwise, America doesn't work. And so our goal on college campuses right now is to say, absolutely feel strongly about how your co-religionists or people with whom you share an ethnicity or a point of view on the other side of the world are feeling. Absolutely feel that. And also recognize that you are in a unique place to build bridges and to have relationships that other people on the other side of the world might not have as far as the privilege goes. Our motto at Interfaith America is really diversity is a treasure, cooperation is better than division, identity is a source of pride, faith is a bridge. Those are our principles.
Excellent. One of the things I've admired too about what you do is you're very pragmatic, Eboo, in the work that you're actually doing. Very practical. It's not just theoretical and theological. Very practical work. You started off Interfaith Youth Corps, building houses, physical, tactile work that you were doing. Now you're expanding it into the healthcare world, technology. Talk a little bit about that. How you sort of bring those same principles into really new environments.
So our goal is to say wherever people of diverse backgrounds gather, we want to help them build bridges. We want to help those civic spaces, whether it's a public library or a coffee shop or a school or an athletic league or a hospital. We want to make sure that people from diverse backgrounds who gather can gather in a way that is defined by respect for diverse identities, relationships between different communities, and cooperation on concrete projects to serve the common good. And so our image of this is, listen, if there's a Muslim and a Jewish doctor who are about to perform a heart surgery together, absolutely, you should be respectful of their different views on creation, salvation, the Middle East, etc. But really, what they need to do is perform a heart surgery together. And their identities are at stake in that heart surgery. There's a pretty good chance that that individual's Muslim identity played a role in her becoming a doctor. There's a pretty good chance that that individual's Jewish identity played a role in him becoming a doctor. We want to make sure that they are leaning into the inspiration of their faith and worldview identities to inspire them to respect, relate, cooperate in the American tradition.
We just released not so long ago a new documentary to National PBS on the topic of Sabbath, believing that this is a wonderful subject matter theme that interfaith voices could all contribute to understanding it deeper, and we need it in the culture. In actually making the film, I became more convinced myself this is something that the culture had a while back in our history, and then we just lost it. Somehow it just sort of slipped through our hands. As a Muslim, thinking about the notion of Sabbath and the way that we behave now as a culture in America, any thoughts on the value that Sabbath brings back into our culture?
I just think it's so important. I think rest and reflection is so important. And I think that religious traditions have carried this wisdom for a very long time and have integrated it into as a practice into daily life, whether it's Saturday for Jews, Friday night to Saturday evening for Jews, Sunday for Christians, Friday afternoon after Jummah prayers for most Muslims. I am an Ismaili Muslim. We're a small Shia sect of Islam, and we have something of a different Sabbath practice. And so our spiritual leader, the Aga Khan, encourages Ismailis to carry a tasbih with them wherever they go and says, when you have a moment in the day to say the name of God or the prophet or the imams, take that moment. So wherever I go, I have a tasbih with me. And sometimes it's in a meeting. Sometimes it's 5 minutes at my desk. I will pray my tasbih, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, and I will take that moment. I also try to take a couple of days to myself every month. I use those days to take long walks. I write. Sometimes I go see a movie. The period of Ramadan is very important to me. I wake up early in the morning. I read a book on Islam or some other religious tradition, typically Islam. I say my prayers. I enter into the holy practices of the day. And during the summer, for the last 10, 12 years, I have basically taken half of the summer to do reflection and writing work. And that's part of my own practice. And so some of these are kind of practices that kind of come from the secular world in some ways, but they are all religiously informed. And I think that the most important part of the part that's religiously inspired is the human brain and spirit needs rest. And we are not human workings, we are human beings. And as important as our work is, and I think the work of Interfaith America is very important, as important as that is, the human spirit needs to take time to rest and reflect, and therefore come back to its work in the world in a more fulsome way.
Well, thank you. That's It's a wonderful personal reflection. Thank you. Thank you for doing that, Eboo. Last question. You've been doing this work now for a generation. You've watched a generation of young people come through. You had the opportunity to help prepare them. What kind of lessons have you learned about doing interfaith work in this country and how it's changed? And how young people are responding differently maybe than they would have a generation ago when they first came in?
A great question, Martin. So honestly, we used to say you had a new generation every 20 years or so. I actually think there's a new generation every 3 or 4 years. And it sounds funny, but I'm also being quite serious about this. Partially, it's because you have a new technology, whether it's the emergence of the iPhone in 2007, 2008, social media a few years later, then TikTok, right? You have a new technology that a cohort of people kind of revolves their lives around, and that technology defines a generation, and it's a new one every 3 to 5 years. And so, the kind of the if you will, the Snapchat generation has given way to the TikTok generation, will soon give way to the AI 1.0 generation. So things have shifted quite quickly, and of course, the last 15, or if you think about the last 20 years, you have a post 9, you have 9/11 and the post 9/11 moment, you have the Obama moment, you have the Trump moment, you have COVID, you have the vaccine, you have the racial reckoning, and now we're in the shoot to what is likely going to be a different American moment, which is around the election of 2024, the Middle East war, et cetera, et cetera. So here's what I can say. I think that our North Star has long been the same. Our North Star of building civic pluralism. I'll say it again. Diversity is a treasure. Cooperation is better than division. Identity is a source of pride. Faith is a bridge. Respect, relate, cooperate. Those things have been the same in Interfaith America from the beginning. How you engage those things, the method by which you engage them has changed according to the generation. And I'm proud of that, right? I'm proud of that. At the end of the day, we're a Tocquevillian organization. We believe in institutions, right? We believe in a college campus as an institution. We believe in a faith community as an institution. We believe in civic organizations like Catholic Charities, the YMCA, Habitat for Humanity. We believe in the kind of theory of social change that says you tell an inspiring story in the world, and then you help people embody that with their lives. We have followed that path. But the path has taken us through kind of different pastures, if you will, based on the shifting context. And we're good at that too. So God willing, we are part of a new chapter in American history that helps to achieve the North Star that the European founders set before us, which is a nation, in the words of George Washington, that gives to bigotry no sanction and to persecution no assistance, where every faith community can feel safe and sit under its own vine and fig, again, as Washington said, and as Ben Franklin said, can come together to lift up the nation, which is exactly how Ben Franklin treated the diverse faith communities of Philadelphia. It is an Interfaith America, and we hope that Interfaith America, the organization, helps to build Interfaith America, the nation.
There's troubled waters ahead, Eboo, and I can't think of a better organization to be out in front of it. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And we'll find ways to support you and get the word out about the good work that you're all doing. So thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Martin, and your team. And thank you for the films that you made. And thank you for spending this time with us.
For more information about this film or the practice of Sabbath, visit journeyfilms.com.